be, 2 cents greater than expected. And so they all jump into it without doing their own research. The stock market is a very unsophisticated market where the other markets are more sophisticated. So you look at those inflationary pressures. Now you also add the turbulence, the turmoil, the chaos in Israel with Hamas, and Israel conflict and U.S. warships being attacked for like the first time since who knows when. Right. I mean, this creates all kinds of what I would call the tangible intangibles, right? It's like, well, boy, you've got these fundamental forces and now you've got these things happening, creates uncertainty in people's minds. And war is never, ever good for the economy, medium and long term. Maybe short term it can be, but medium and long term, you're always using funds that could have been used for something else, infrastructure, anything else, and they're using them for the war machine. That's not good allocation of funds. This is why I believe gold and silver have skyrocketed over the last few weeks. Now, as we record this recording right now, gold and silver pulled back a little bit, but we always have to ask ourselves, fundamentally, has anything changed? No, nothing has changed, except silver went up maybe $2.50 plus over the last couple of weeks. And when it comes back, maybe $1.25, $1.50, and the fundamentals haven't changed, to me, that signals profit taking, hedge funds, big corporations, whatever, are just locking in some immediate profits, drives the price down. But when the fundamentals hadn't changed, prices are going to continue to go up. That's just kind of how markets work. Right.
Now we've got 2,200 plus folks watching right now. So that's amazing. Thank you guys for joining us. I wanted to go to the very first question that we had at the very top, since Jewel 08 has been waiting for a while. They ask, after converting annuities and IRA to silver, I kept back 1 year's worth of money for living. So it is hardly getting interest in credit unions. Should some of it be put back into silver?
Well, here's whether it came from annuities or it's just sitting in cash or anything. The point is you've got this money sitting in cash. So what is cash getting you? Cash is getting you maybe 4% a year, if you're lucky. What is inflation right now? Inflation unofficially is hovering at 15 to 20%. This is what I did my dissertation on and developed a new methodology for measuring inflation for the Bureau of Labor Statistics. I mean, and so because the way that they do it is wrong, LT. It's just wrong. It's understated on purpose for political reasons. So when the BLS says that CPI inflation is 3.8%, no, it's not. Our wallets will tell us something different. The factor that I came up with in my algorithm is multiply it times 2.8. That gives you a more reflective, number of what inflation really is. That puts inflation at really 15 to 20% in that ballpark. Okay. Our wallets will tell us that too. When you go get gas or groceries or anything else, I mean, just it's what it is. So if you are getting cash at 4% and you're missing out on something else, you're not even keeping up with inflation. That means that's a guaranteed loss. Well, what has silver done over the last year? Well, it went from 1797 to 23. That's up like between 30 and 40%. It's a really good return. Other than the 4% you're getting on cash, you're not even keeping up with inflation with cash. You're losing money. That's a guaranteed loss due to inflation. So the only way a portfolio can grow and thrive is to outpace inflation. So therefore, I would go into more silver. Now, you always have to ask your advisor. You have to talk about it, think about it, pray about it, right? But you asked me a question of what's doing better. What would I do? I would actually go into silver because it's outpacing inflation.
That's awesome. Well, we had another question from Joey G88. If we go back to a gold silver standard where it is money, what does that go or do about the values of houses, cars, commercial buildings, products, services, etc.? Do those all revert back to prices? And let's see, I missed the rest of it. Anyway.
So I get the gist of the question.
Yeah. Prices that we had pre-1970. Okay. There you go.
So I don't think so. And here's why, because the global trend is moving towards central bank digital currency, right? We've talked about this on And We Know for months. What is central bank digital currency? It's a digital version of fiat-based money, meaning, but it's easier to create currency, so to speak, digitally, because all you have to do is hit a bunch of zeros on your keyboard and hit enter, and you've created inflation, rather than going to the printing press and printing a bunch and all of that. So if you then look at gold and silver as a tangible asset, as an inflationary hedge, your houses or anything else that you buy is still going to be transacted, generally speaking, in the currency of the land,
Right.
which is going to be some kind of hyperinflated or inflated currency. But if you were to pay cash for that, if your whatever the currency is, you're going to have to pay those inflated prices. If you use gold and silver are going up with the inflated prices because they're things just like the house is. So therefore, you pay ultimately a lower price, so to speak, because you're using a tangible asset to pay for a tangible asset. Let me explain that in more layman's terms. In 1920, a US dollar, a $20 bill was equal to 1 ounce of gold. That's why the old gold pieces in the early 1900s had $20 face value on it. You could go to the bank, you could go to Sears or whatever stores were available then and give them 1 ounce of gold or a $20 bill, because the US dollar was backed by gold back then. So the question becomes, what would it buy, right? What's your purchasing power?
Right.
Well, 1 ounce of gold or a $20 bill would have bought you a finely tailored men's suit, a shirt, a tie, a belt, and shoes. Fast forward to today, 100 years later, right? $20, you can't even get a pair of socks, right? Or you can't even go to Chick-fil-A for date night. But 1 ounce of gold at $2,000 an ounce still buys you a finely tailored men's suit, a shirt, a tie, a belt, and shoes. See, that gold has maintained its purchasing power over the last 100 years. It still buys exactly the same thing, where the $20 does not, right?
Wow.
So that hopefully answers that question.
Yeah, that's awesome. Man, this is great. I love going live with you. I mean, more stuff coming from different angles I didn't even expect. We got more than 3,000 watching now.
Wow.
Dr. Elliott, it's pretty cool. Just in the meantime, I want to remind you guys below the video, andweknow.com/gold, go to that, and you can reach out to Dr. Elliott and his team and have great long conversations with them about everything that you have today if we can't get to them all. Here's another one. Man, this is great. Does any of this apply to Canadians? This is from Linda. Looks like COUTTS. Our banking system is very different, but it is in danger as well.
Yeah, I mean, you look at the Canadian banking system. One of the big banks up there is Toronto Dominion, right? So TD. So they've got a ton of derivatives debt exposure. They're no different than U.S. banks in the fact that banks all over the world have more debt, because the Canadian economy is not good, just like the U.S. economy is not good. For a lot of these banks, you've got more withdrawals than you have deposits. That's devastating to a bank.
Right.
They don't have enough capital. And when you add into that the derivatives exposure that some of these larger, even Canadian, I don't care if it's a Canadian bank, a British bank, a US bank, a Chinese bank, a Japanese bank, they're all the same in the sense of this low interest rates that we've had globally for over 40 years, like since 1983, global interest rates have been held artificially low through competitive currency devaluations that cause people to borrow, to go into debt. Now, as interest rates are competitively rising to attract more foreign capital by raising that yield, the problem is we now have debt. I don't care what country you're in. If you have debt and interest rates are rising, those banks are going to see delinquencies, late payments, right? Then what comes after late payments? Defaults. What comes after defaults? Bankruptcies, right? So the country doesn't matter because the fundamentals that cause banks to succeed or fail are the same across any border. And we're seeing this globally.
Yeah, great answer. This is great. We've got Mike 6769. He says, if currencies are going to gold backing, what will that do to silver pricing in the future? Please let us know. Thank you, Kirk.
Oh, such a good question. All of these are good questions. I love answering things live. Keeps me on my toes, but that's a good one because people automatically assume, oh, if we're going to a gold-backed currency, which I believe that we will, Even the Dutch central bank, which LT, you and I talked about this, I think 3 weeks ago on End We Know, basically said, we're ready for a global gold standard. What? They're ready. Did they spill the beans, right? This is what we talked about. Did they spill the beans? No, they didn't spill any beans. They said it on purpose. There's always a reason. When you're at that level, you want people to know something, right? So you've got central banks around the world amassing thousands of tons of gold, not ounces, not pounds, but tons. Like China, the BRICS nations, the European Central Bank has over 10,000 tons of gold. The Fed has over 8,500 tons. So they're basically shoring up for a gold-backed currency is what I believe. Now, as gold goes up, what about silver? Silver will go up too. In fact, what I look at is not necessarily the price of the two metals. I look at the ratio. How many ounces of silver does it take to buy 1 ounce of gold? Okay. Today, that ratio is about 85 to 1. If you multiply the price of silver times about 85, it gets you the gold price. Well, historically, that number is 20 to 1. So it's like, what does that tell us? That tells us either gold is overvalued or silver is undervalued. I don't think gold is overvalued. I think gold is going to continue to go up as demand increases, as currencies start to back themselves with it. So what does that mean? The alternative is silver is going to outpace gold. And if we allocate into silver, as gold continues to rise, as it backs currencies, well, then maybe a year, 2 years down the road, if that ratio goes from 80 to 1 to 40 to 1, well, that's half. That means we could sell our silver, go into gold. I get you twice as many ounces of gold then as what I could have purchased for you today. Then you ride out the gold trend with more ounces. That's a compounding of your wealth. A gold-backed currency will impact both gold and silver positively, but silver, because of where the ratio is simply outperforming, which is why I recommend silver, even though I think in my heart of hearts, globally, we're going to have multiple currencies backed by gold. I'm still going into silver because I want to get more gold down the road for free by leveraging the higher growth silver right now to get more ounces of gold down the road. And that's what we can help people do.
Oh, that's amazing. Yeah. And in helping that, we had another one, looks like a VAKE, Vake NNU asks, I have physical silver, bullion, coins, etc. Not a heck of a lot. Should I keep adding to it?
I mean, yes, as much as you can. You want to keep some cash on hand. Don't ever put everything into silver because we still live in a cash world. You still have expenses. You still have to maintain an emergency fund. But my general rule of thumb, I would say, have 3 months to maximum 6 months of expenses in cash. Everything else I would allocate into silver if you can. Why? Because of the previous question that we already answered, and that is silver is outpacing inflation. If you don't outpace inflation with what you're invested in, you're going to ultimately lose because of loss of purchasing power. So that's why I would allocate as much as you can into silver with discretion, right? Don't ever minimize your cash position so much where it gives you financial dis-ease, right? Like disease. It's like you don't want that anxiety. You don't want that financial stress on your life. So never cut your cash too short, but don't have too much either. See, too little cash impacts your peace of mind. Too much cash is counterintuitive because it's not keeping up with inflation. So that middle ground is 3 to 6 months of expenses in cash. And I would put the rest into silver at this time in history because of the fundamentals that are causing its growth.
Right. Now, as we go through all of this, and I go through and just kind of, I just see a lot of folks shout outs from all over the earth. It's pretty amazing. Somebody said here, says the US dollar isn't worth the paper it's printed on.
Well,
then we have another question about Bitcoin. Should I invest in Bitcoin? Thanks.
Okay. I like that first comment. It reminds me of a joke. It's like, how do you make a perfectly, valuable piece of paper go to nothing? Just put green ink on it, right? So this is more than Bitcoin. This question is more to me about cryptocurrency, not just a particular cryptocurrency. And I ultimately think like blockchain technology is the wave of the future. I think at some point, even central bank digital currency, which is not going to be blockchain, it's going to be centralized, right? So the difference is cryptocurrencies that are blockchain are private. Central bank digital currency, which is a digital currency that's centralized, is not private. It's the opposite. They know everything about you. They can track all of your transactions, everything, cut you off from buying or selling through their unified ledger if they don't like you, right? It's like, oh, Matt, that's scary. That's like Revelation 13:17. That's the mark of the beast, right? So having a decentralized cryptocurrency like a Bitcoin or Ethereum or something, or, something like that, I think it's hard to answer that, because in theory, I like the concept. In reality, because it's complete opposition to central bank digital currency, we don't know which ones they're going to demonize. We don't know which ones the government is going to basically penalize people for owning or make illegal. So until the framework is mapped out, the landscape is mapped out better, I have a hard time recommending something when my goal is to minimize risk and maximize return. Yeah, you could maximize your return, but it comes with maximized risk because you never know which ones are going to last. In time, I think we will. But for right now, it's a little bit too risky for me. I would like to go with the meat and potatoes of private investments. That would be gold and silver.
Right. Awesome. Man, great answer. We have another question from OK State Pen. I'm assuming that's Oklahoma. I have a Texas retirement system pension. How viable is it to get out and into AG/AU?
Well, getting out of a pension, going into gold and silver, which is what AG and AU stand for. It's like the symbols for those metals. That's a hard question. And I would call my office to actually go over that in more detail, because getting out of a state pension is almost impossible. It might be impossible in certain states unless you're retired. Right now, once you retire, you sometimes have a window where you can take a lump sum distribution or annuitize it and say, okay, this is going to be my pension. I'm going to get 70% of my highest income over the last 5 years for the rest of my life, right? So once you annuitize it, you're in it forever. You can't ever change that. But if you're about to retire, then for most states, you have a window where you can choose. You want it annuitized or do you want to take a lump sum? I would always take a lump sum, because I don't trust state pensions that they actually have enough money. Because of the demographics of America, the baby boomers are all retiring. We have a declining birth rate in America. The fertility rate's below 2.0, which means there's less people working and paying into the system to fund all of the retirees. And what the pensions are investing in is the same things you and I would invest in paper, and they're coming down, right? So you've got all arrows pointed against it, right? So that's why I would never lock something into something that you can never get out of. That's leaving it into the hands of somebody else. I would rather convert it into like a traditional IRA that's portable, that you can change whenever you want, because the control of that moves away from the state and into your hands. So if you're retiring, I would go into a traditional IRA within that window of conversion. If you're still working for the state, I doubt there's anything that you can do. If you've already annuitized, there's nothing you can do. So there's that small window where we could really help people in going into different assets.
Awesome. Man, this is great. We're up to 3,500 plus viewers now. Thank you guys for joining us. This is absolutely amazing. I'm trying to get to all the questions and comments. I sent you one in the chat just because it had some acronyms for you. If you can check that out here. But while you're reading that, I wanted to have another one from, it looks like Kentucky Gun. What about rolling your 401k into precious metals? Is that safe?
401k into precious metals, I mean, the asset is immaterial. I mean, there's times when gold and silver is safe and there's times when they're not. There's times when stocks and bonds are safe. There's times when they're not, right? Like, for example, during the Reagan years, during the Trump years, when you had lowering taxes, lowering interest rates, and job creation, I think the normal traditional markets were great. But when we've got the opposite now, you've got rising taxes, rising interest rates to slow down inflation that they're creating by funding every stimulus under the sun and printing money like there's no tomorrow. And we have wage reduction rather than job creation. Normal markets don't do so hot. But what does? Gold and silver. So everything that I'm talking about, there's a time and a place for it, right? Right now, with the fundamentals of the economy, rising taxes, rising interest rates, rising inflation, and job losses, gold and silver do amazingly well. So if your 401k, this is kind of the same rules as the state pension question. If you're currently working, can't really do too much with it. You have to, because here's what most people don't know. You don't own your 401k. You're a participant in it. The company you works for owns it, right? So, but here's some IRS rules. If you're 59 and a half or older, you can do what's called an in-service rollover. And it doesn't mean that your company would comply with it. It's available though, right? So you just have to ask your HR person. It's like, hey, I'm over 59 and a half. I want to roll this over into an IRA. Great. They can you can do the balance to zero if you want. You can do a portion of it. You can't get rid of your 401k because you're still working there, right? So you take the balance down to zero and just start over, but you've moved all of your acquired balance that you've worked your whole life to accumulate into something like gold and silver. Now, if you've retired from the company, a 401k rolls into a traditional IRA. Just let us know and we'll help you with that paperwork. It takes like 20 minutes to fill out and we'll take care of that for you. But so again, like the annuity question or the pension question that we answered, if you've retired, yep, your 401k can go into an IRA. If you're still working at the company, if you're under 59 and a half, probably not. If you're over 59 and a half, we can do an in-service rollover.
Okay, perfect. Here's another, this is a big one from Spraz AU62. I have a huge portfolio that is shrinking. My financial advisor is not awake. Do I take everything out and put it into gold, silver?
This is where you have to talk to your advisor, right? Because I don't do stocks and bonds, mutual funds. I don't. So any kind of stock, bond, mutual fund questions, you have to talk to them about it. If you don't like their answers, well, then you draw a line in the sand personally, right? And you say, okay, I'm going to leave you, right, as my advisor and go with something. Because if you've got Holy Spirit speaking into your ear and saying, you better do something, there's danger around the corner here, well, then you better act on that inner voice, right? But here's where, talk to them, say, I want you to liquidate it. Don't let them think that it's their money. They will try and try and try to persuade you and coax you otherwise. But in the end, it's your money. Tell them what to do with it, right? If you want to liquidate it, don't let them scare you into not. Just do it. And then you roll it over into what needs to be done. So I personally, I'm in silver. I mean, that's what I'm in, have been for about 4 years. I mean, I own some real estate. I own my company, right? But as far as investable assets go, I'm in silver because it's the only thing that makes sense to me in the inflationary world that's full of unsustainable debt, political chaos, geopolitical conflict, uncertainty, turbulence, turmoil, change. Those are the fundamentals that cause gold and silver to go up. So therefore, I allocate into them to minimize my risk and maximize my return. Here's a question that always comes up with that, though, LT, and I think that the person who asked that question will probably have heard this. Well, you have to have a diversified portfolio. It's like, says who? You could diversify into 20 different Titanics. They all sank, and your diversification did you no good. So diversification isn't necessarily the key to safety. The key to safety is simply being in the right place at the right time, which means identify the trends, the factors that cause those trends, and then over allocate into that. Don't be emotionally attached to your investment because at some point you're going to sell when those trends change to lock in your profits. And I hope that makes sense.
Yeah, that's great. I saw another one here. We've got more than 100 questions, folks throwing in, more than 3,600 folks watching. Thank you for joining us. This is great. I've never done anything like this before in the 5+ years of doing this. So it's amazing. I love it. We've got another one that I've heard you talk about before. and maybe you can help Davis Art out. What do people do who are just barely getting by with no savings or assets?
I hear this all the time. And for one, don't let fear creep into your mind that there's nothing that you can do. I understand it's hard when you're living hand to mouth or month to month, right? And you can hardly even feed your family, let alone thinking about investing. But the key is you still need to do something, even if it means having a garage sale and selling stuff in your garage that you haven't used or even looked at in 10 years, right? Because it doesn't take an awful lot. It's on silver, we could allocate $500 minimum. Gold is a couple $1,000s an ounce, so you can't really go less than 2,000 because you can't cut it in half with a hacksaw. But in reality, I don't have a minimum. I don't, because I want to help everybody. But there is a reality to the markets, and that is there's shipping involved. There's time that you have to take to accept the delivery, sign off on it. So for logistics, I would say silver, $500 minimum, gold, 2,000. If you don't have it, like the person asking this question might not, save up every single month, 20, 30, $50, whatever you can. As soon as you have 500, give our office a call and we will help you. And then you start the clock, start it over again, start saving up until you get another 500. I have clients that have done this over and over and over again. One of the smallest client that we have was a widow from Kansas. She gave me $300 and it was 100% of everything that she had. It broke my heart, but she did it. And then over the months, she got another $300. Then she got $500. And so over the years, she looked back and said, I actually have a really decent sized portfolio. And I didn't think I had anything to ever start. Right. So for those, I would say just save up until you can get enough. And then, our clientele ranges from that to people that are billionaires, right? And everybody in between. To me, I don't care how much the Lord has entrusted you with. I don't care how much you have, if it's a lot or a little. We all have an equal mandate from God, which is be a wise steward with what we have. I don't care if it's a lot or a little. And so therefore, we want to help everybody with that, LT.
Amen. Amen. Great. And I wonder if you had a chance to see the comments, private chat stuff they sent you, some of those that are difficult for me to understand. Do you want to answer any of those?
Yeah. So please explain what the 401k to precious metals is. So a 401k is not allowed to own precious metals. Only IRAs are. So IRAs are the only retirement account that can have physical precious metals in them. So it doesn't matter what's in front of the word IRA. Simple, SEP, traditional, Roth, inherited. If it's an IRA, we can do that. So a 401k would roll into an IRA, then we can actually do physical metals in them. But in the 401k, you can't actually do any of that. So just call us if you need help on rolling over a 401k into an IRA, and we'll help you do that. Another question. Please let me know if you can sell your numismatic coins and not report it, or can it be sold and reinvest into silver directly without reporting? No, anytime that you make a sale, it incurs a capital gain, and you have to report that. Because semi-numismatic coins, or those numismatic coins, can't be held in an IRA, so they're held outside of an IRA. Outside of an IRA, every buy or sell is reportable to the IRS as a capital gain. You can't avoid reporting anything. There's nothing that says that you can't, but you get in real big trouble if you don't report it, because it's the law. So report it. And then the key is, I don't care what the tax implication is. I don't. As long as you're going into the right thing. See, over time, being in the right place at the right time, you don't look at the cost of what a tax might be as the end all be all. Look at the opportunity cost. What are you foregoing? And I have so many people that says, Kirk, I'm not going to sell my whatever to go into silver because I have to pay a 25 or 26% capital gains tax. It's like, okay, if you don't, what did silver do in the last 12 months? So it's like up almost 40%. You would have recovered that capital gains tax in pretty short order. In the last 3.5 years, silver's gone from 1191 to 24. It's up like 100%. If people didn't make the move because they didn't want to pay a tax, they would have missed out on the net 100% versus a 26% tax, they would have missed out on 74% of growth, right? So never not do something because there's a penalty, a surrender charge, or a tax. Always be in the right place. I don't care if the right place is gold, silver, stocks, real estate. There's always a right place at a certain time, and always try to be in that as much as you can. I hope that makes sense.
That's
And then
amazing.
lastly, the other question in the private one is, I own SILJ, any hope. I also own SLV and PSLV and silver with Dr. Elliott. See, everything that you've just mentioned in that, all those little acronyms, those 3 and 4 letter things, those are paper versions of a tangible asset. So if I would always rather own the tangible asset that you can use for barter if you need to, because you have possession of it. But they respond to different fundamentals. They respond to supply and demand and inventory, where it's easy to manipulate paper. They're based on spot price. This is what like JP Morgan Chase is shorting, doing naked shorts on these contracts. That would be like SLV, right? It's like, well, boy, I don't want a piece of paper that if Sony is needing silver for electronics, they're not buying a piece of paper. They're buying the physical silver. That's what we should purchase. And then also all those other ones you have to buy through a brokerage house, right? Like Schwab or Merrill Lynch or whoever. Well, what if they go out of business like Lehman Brothers did? Well, then what? It's like you always have something that's physical. Ultimately, it's going to be the safest thing for you.
Yeah, amazing. We've got so many more pouring in, almost 4,000 watching. Thank you guys for joining us. A reminder, if we can't get to your question today, you can go to andweknow.com/gold. In the description box below, click on that, reach out to Dr. Elliott and his team. They've got a phone number also. What's that phone number again?
720-605-3900. That's 720-605-3900. And if any of you don't get your questions answered tonight, because I realize limited time, a bajillion questions, call our office and one of my consultants will actually be happy to answer those for you personally.
Amazing. We've got Maoki asking, I'd like to know if I'm planning to buy a house next year. Still, is it a good idea to buy silver now?
Again, that's a really good question, because general rule of thumb, you have to look at where are interest rates going, what is the value of your real estate doing, and what is silver doing. There's moving parts there. Silver is going up, interest rates are going up, but the value of housing is coming down like a rock dropped into the ocean. I mean, it's just falling. So chances are a year down the road, housing is going to be cheaper. If you invested into silver today, silver grows, housing comes down, you've amplified what you can get, right? It's like ultimately kind of making the house cheaper. But there's this other factor, which is interest rates, right? So if you're financing it, there's going to be this gray area in the middle, because as the value of housing comes down, interest rates are going up, you're going to meet somewhere in the middle where it makes sense. But if interest rates go up 0.5% between now and then, but your silver maybe goes up 30 or 40% over the next year, it's like, all right, invest into something that's growing, take that growth asset, sell it, buy something at a discount, which real estate is coming down because of interest rates, loss of wages, inflationary pressures, and you can actually kind of have your cake and eat it too. Now, if you were to say, I'm going to buy a house within the next 6 months, I'd probably say don't invest in silver, because you don't have enough time horizon for that to grow. But you said, a year from now, it's like, okay, is a year from now 2 months, right? Because you're thinking February, or is a year from now like next December? So if it's less than 6 months, I actually wouldn't invest into silver. I would just keep it in cash and buy your house. If it's more than 6 months, I would probably invest it into the growth asset and sell it off down the road.
Great answer. Box for him. Dr. Elliott, what do you recommend from those of us on a, quote, fixed income? What's the possibility of me buying any silver or gold ounces?
It's the same answer as the question we answered just a few minutes ago about somebody who doesn't have very much income. A lot of times people on fixed income don't. They're just kind of getting by every single month, like most retirees, right? As inflation is persisting and interest rates are low, you're feeling the pinch more and more and more every single month. And my heart goes out to you, right? But this is where find anything that you can cut. Save up, $20, $30, $40 at a shot. And once you get to $500, I would allocate.
Okay. Dr. Jenk has a few questions here. If metals price manipulation is indeed happening, what's causing it? What would stop it? And will it ever stop?
It is happening. And we can see it in silver, right? So this is how it's happening. So JP Morgan Chase, for example, is the custodian of physical silver for BlackRock's SLV, right? We're talking about SLV
Right.
a couple of questions ago.
Yep.
SLV is the silver ETF, the paper version of it. So when BlackRock says, oh man, we sold $10 million of shares today, we have to buy that corresponding ounces of silver, they give an order to JP Morgan. Well, as a wise business person, you never want to have high cost of goods when you buy things. You want to have low cost of goods. So what do? They issue naked shorts on silver. That causes the price to come down. They buy silver at low prices. That creates more demand. The price goes up. Then the price gets too high. And they say, oh, price is too high. Let's issue more naked shorts. They drive the price down. They buy physical silver at the lower price. And this vicious cycle keeps going on. So the point is, they're manipulating silver, not because they hate it, but because they love it, right? This is what they do. So even with that, though, even with manipulation, we've seen silver go up over 30% in the last 12 months. We've seen it go up 100% in the last 3.5 years. We've seen the average since the year 2000, last 23 years, silver grow over 11% a year. Still quite amazing. That's with manipulation. Right. So what's happening is like a couple years ago, remember when the Reddit and Wall Street Bets people, they took it to the hedge funds with GameStop and AMC theaters, and they created the short squeeze. Well, they did the same thing on silver starting a couple years ago. And basically they have tens of millions of followers and investors. And they're saying, hey, everybody, there's very limited supply of silver. Let's all buy physical ounces. When people like JP Morgan and other hedge funds have to cover their shorts, they're going to have to buy physical. If we own it, they have to cover it by law. So they could say, well, we need it. Well, we're not going to sell it to you. So then you say, well, but we'll sell it to you at $40 an ounce or $100 an ounce or $150 an ounce, right? This is one of the reasons why we saw silver in 2011 go from $12 to $48 an ounce that year. That's amazing. Right? For these exact same fundamentals. So without manipulation, if you go to usdebtclock.org, you can see the paper, the dollar to silver price. Without manipulation, silver should be over $1,100 an ounce. LT, you and I have gone over this on your show before, right? So that's the price of silver without manipulation. With manipulation, it's like $24. I like
Right.
those graphics that show up on that site from time to time. It makes me laugh. But over on the right-hand side, underneath that graphic, you can see the silver to paper ratio, the dollar to silver ratio. Yeah, it's right in there. And you can see over the last 5 years, silver should be $1,120 an ounce. To me, that's the price of silver without manipulation. So even if they just fix it a little bit, what if it's 50% less? Well, that's still $600 an ounce. Well, what if it's 75% less? Well, that's still $300 an ounce. I mean, we've got so much upward momentum and capability in the silver markets because of how artificially low it is right now. Right. To me, it's a no-brainer. It's absolutely a no-brainer to invest into silver.
Another question here. Is there a cost, i.e. taxes, if I use 401 monies to buy silver and or gold? That's from Hasty.
Well, you can't use 401k monies to buy silver or gold. You have to roll it into an IRA. Okay. If you use an IRA, that's a tax-free rollover. And no, there is no taxes when you roll a 401k into an IRA. If it's not a rollover, you just have to liquidate funds in your 401k. That's a taxable event. You take, they cut you a check, and then you buy silver outside of a 401k. That is a taxable event. Awesome. But if it's a rollover, it's not.
Okay. Do you guys take on international clients?
Yes, we have all kinds of international clients. Like, I can't count them all. But we can't physically deliver to you if you live in any country outside of the United States.
Right.
But we can set up a storage account at the Texas Precious Metals Depository in China, Texas. That's where we have we recommend all of our storage to goes there. Right. So it's not us, it's a third party, but they have unlimited insurance protection on the account. It's segregated storage, meaning you're the only one that has a right or a claim to it. There's no joint ownership, so they can't oversell it. I've known the owners for a long time. They're patriots like we are. And it's in Texas. Texas, to me, legislatively is a very safe state because they love precious metals. In fact, Texas wants a state chartered central bank backed by gold. They're in favor of metals, right? So you add all that together. If you're international, you could. We've got clients in Israel and Australia and Europe. We just have to store it at the depository. When you want to liquidate it, you give us a call, 45-second phone call. We lock it in, and we can just wire the funds into your bank account, even if it's international. But we can't deliver it to you.
Mm-hmm. That kind of leads into this next question from Brooks P2108. Banks are closing, assuming that we have purchased silver. When this collapse happens, is there a safe place or way to deposit or cash our paychecks? Is there a gold silver bank?
Not right now.
Hmm.
Texas legislatively wants one, right? Yep. But they missed the legislative deadline voting it in at the last session. So I think you have to wait till next year at some point, and then hopefully it passes. But they've got half the equation. They have a vault already in the Dallas area. So now you just have to pass it so you can have a gold-backed currency. But there's other states already that are wanting to follow suit, like Alaska. There's other states that have already passed legislation to make gold legal tender in those states. So we're moving in that direction. But as we speak, there is no bank that's ultimately backed by gold. You still have to use the currency system of the land. But in the meantime, you allocate into something that's growing and taking advantage of the inflationary pressures and outpacing it. And that's what gold and silver do.
Right. So a lot of folks have been asking, I'm kind of scrolling through about predictions on silver, Dr. Elliott. And I know you've probably seen some of these, but one of them's asking, where do you see silver in 6 months? And others asking, what do you expect silver to top out at? I mean, what's your prediction on silver? You've kind of brought this up before, but you're really big on silver. What's going on there?
I don't like to predict anything because I'm not God and I don't control the markets. But what I can share with you is historical numbers and what it's done, right? So I mean, you've got people that I trust and admire, like Bo Polney, and think that, silver is going to go $600 to $2,500 an ounce, right? Very strong algorithms supporting that. My brain doesn't go that far. I just look at history and say, what did it do the last time there was supply chain disruptions, low inventory, high demand, and you had a short squeeze, right? That's 2011. Silver went from $12 to $48 an ounce. That's a 4 times multiplier, right? So I look at it as, well, what if we're starting at 25? Well, what's a 4 times multiplier? If it were to equal that time in history, that same trend, that puts silver at 75 to 100. I don't think that's a lifetime away. These things don't take very long, right? So again, take it with a grain of salt. I'm not God. I don't control the markets. It could take a while, but historically speaking, these things generally last a couple of years and you could lock in your profits. But take that as my opinion, not a statement of fact, because none of us know the future. We don't even know if we're going to wake up tomorrow. Jesus doesn't even know the date and time he's coming back, and he's Jesus, right? Yep. So what we can look at is historical trends and patterns, inflationary pressures, war, rumors of wars, unsustainable debt. All of that is pointing towards much higher prices. And whether it goes up 20%, 40%, 1,000%, whatever, right place at the right time. I don't see anything else that makes any better sense. So with that, I would allocate into the thing that makes the most sense. That happens to be silver right now.
Yeah, because some other folks were asking, like Kay Flaky was asking about platinum increasing in value. How do you look at that compared to gold and silver?
I don't like anything other than silver or gold because they're like your meat and potatoes. They have the most trading. They have the most volume. Where platinum and palladium, highly controlled, like 95% by Russia and South Africa, do BRICS nations, communist countries. We've got import and export controls on Russia right now because of the Ukraine-Russia conflict. That's what's caused some of those prices to go through the roof because they've put export controls on it. Once the conflict is over, which who knows if it ever will be, but if it is, I think those tariffs come off, the price comes down, the investors are never really made whole. Right. I mean, it's too risky is what point I'm trying to make.
Yeah, this is amazing. Hopefully, you've got plenty of water left because, Dr. Elliott, we've already hit 4,064 watching. Normally, when you get near an hour, folks start leaving, but we keep getting more,
It's
more folks
amazing.
showing up. And so can I keep throwing questions at you?
Keep
Or
throwing them at me. Yeah.
okay, good, good. Here's one that we've talked about in a show or two, probably 3 or 4 months ago from RxGCH, whatever. It looks RxG Chief. All right. So are we going to have two systems running simultaneously, CBDC and the QFS?
CBDC, I think is yes, 100%. That's coming. I mean, it's way too down the runway, and almost every nation in the world has already adopted some standard of it, and they're deploying it, right? So
Yep.
that's for sure. What is going to run parallel? I don't know. I think there's going to be all kinds. Well, not all kinds. That's an exaggeration. Numerous parallel economies that show up. You could have like what we just talked about state chartered banks backed by gold. That's an easy one, right?
Right.
Because we've already had currency backed by gold. That's something easy for people to grasp. You could have other central banks that maybe they say, well, like the Dutch central bank, for example, right? That says they're ready for a gold standard. They're already ready for it. It's not like they're going to be ready. They said they are ready. So, and you've got massive amounts of central banks, China, Uzbekistan, Kazakhstan, India, Turkey, even the Federal Reserve and the European Central Bank backing up their currency with mountains of gold. Why? We always have to ask why. Well, because I think maybe they know that maybe people aren't going to adapt central bank digital currency because it's a complete loss of freedom and loss of privacy, and people aren't going to go into it so willy-nilly like they thought. So they're going to have maybe an alternative national currency that's backed by gold. Or maybe you have some kind of cryptocurrency that's backed by gold, like QFS, right? We don't know. You're going to have one central bank digital currency. There could be all kinds of parallel systems. Another parallel system could simply be you have silver at home that you use for barter. A barter economy is a parallel economy, right? So that's not dependent on legislative action or a loud collective voice of everyone trying to get your congressman or woman to change their mind or vote some way. It's just you making a decision. I am going to allocate a portion of my assets into physical silver, take delivery of it so I can use it for barter. That's something you can do right now.
Now here's some conspiracy stuff. You ready for this one?
I'm ready.
Delhi 32. What is your belief concerning what some, including Dr. Jan Halper Hayes, have said? And I don't have that quote from her, but they're saying that she said about Trump bringing 650 jumbo jets full of gold to USA from the Vatican after his capitulation tour.
I don't know. I've heard people say that. I've heard her say that, right? So, but I don't know. I haven't seen it. I haven't seen any evidence of it. So I'm never going to speculate on something I don't know. I mean, it would be cool if it were, but I don't know.
Wouldn't that be something?
Yeah, that would be something.
Let's see. I with my siblings, own a well-established business, have lots of money in out bank accounts in our bank accounts. Is my money safe? And as a business, what do I invest in?
As a business, I would invest in silver too. I mean, you can be a trust, you can be an individual, you can be a company. I mean, it doesn't really matter. I've got churches as clients, right? So the key is to be in the right place at the right time, and the source of funds doesn't really matter. You can be a trust, a business, a nonprofit, an individual, whatever. But having too much money in the banks, if you were to ask me that question a year ago, say, great, you have a ton of money in the banks. You view that the markets are going to collapse and you want to just kind of sit on the sideline, get out of Dodge, right? My answer would have been great. That's a fine thing to do. It's minimizing your risk. I can't say that today because we've already seen round one of bank failures with back in March with Silicon Valley Bank, Key Bank, I'm sorry, not Key Bank, Signature Bank, Credit Suisse, First Republic, right? So now we're starting to possibly see round two of bank failures. And we never know when our bank is going to be the next one, right? You look at what Citibank is doing. They laid off 10% of their workforce under Project Bora Bora. Their CEO announced this a few weeks ago. They have 240,000 employees. They're laying off 24,000, right? Wells Fargo basically slashed their mortgage division completely, a little over a year ago. And now they're still laying people off. and you've got Bank of America that's laying people off. It's like, man, this isn't good. Well, just like any business, why do banks lay people off? Because they have to slash expenses, just like any other business. So this is how banks do it. They're not expecting a good intermediate and short-term economic future. So they're closing down branches, they're laying people off. To me, that's a big warning sign.
Amazing. We're up to 4,300 plus watching. It's still growing. Folks, throw your questions in the comment section, or it looks like the chat section. And I'm looking through those, scrolling down. A lot of you are saying thank you for this broadcast. Really appreciate that. I see those comments and more. Pretty cool. Dr. Elliott, you're definitely getting a lot of questions here. So, Dr. Elliott, I have a few silver coins. Is there a reliable source to value them? That's a good one.
It depends on what you have. I mean, I would call our office, 720-605-3900, and we can see what you've got. Sometimes it makes sense to keep them if it's bullion, right? If you've got a silver round or a 10-ounce bar, 100-ounce bar, I would say, yeah, go ahead and keep it. If you've got stuff that's old, rare, high premium, even silver eagles, things like that, it's like you probably way overpaid for them. Just being honest, you probably way overpaid for them. It would make sense to liquidate, go into bullion, get more ounces, and then participate in the market dollar for dollar. So give us a call. I mean, reputable sources, I don't know. I don't know all over the country. I'm sure there are some, right? I'm sure it's not that everybody in the industry is shady, but if you have high price, semi-numismatic, rare coins, collectibles, something with the story, it's a shipwrecked coin. In a world where there's no guarantee, this is as close as I can get to a guarantee you got ripped off. Because the only thing that makes sense is bullion.
Right. Rosebud SP said, I'll make this comment and then I'll go to the next question. Told my sleeping advisor, he said diversification was good. So I wanted to invest in silver, but no, not that. He was speechless. Laugh out loud. So anyway,
well, so he likes diversification unless you want to diversify into silver that he can't sell. So
way to go,
all I got to say about that.
Here's another one. Is there a way to switch my husband's 401k into my name? I'm older than my husband and wondering if we can gain control of it that way. He's still working at his company where the 401k is.
No, you're the beneficiary of it, but you can't be the owner of it. It's just like an IRA. It's attached to a person. It's attached to the person who's earned it. It can only be, you can't change it.
Okay, so let's see. I've got some more here. I live in Texas. How will that gold-backed digital currency be available to me and others, and how can it be used at this time? Is that what will come into play when the dollar collapses?
Well, it's not here yet, so we don't know. But what it's supposed to be, what the originators of it are, it's got a gold. So you have your currency, it's backed dollar for dollar with gold, and you have a debit card that you can use. If you use it, they pull gold out of the depository. If you're depositing, it puts gold into the depository, right? That's not available right now. Right now, we still live in a cash world that doesn't have anything like that. So therefore, don't wait until there's some kind of a bank that's backed by gold or silver. Just invest into silver outright. It's the same thing. You're just not, and if you ever need to liquidate it to buy something with, well, you liquidate it, right? So it's really no different, except I would love it if we had a bank that actually had backing with gold and silver, but we don't yet. But I think that time is coming. It's going to be here, but we don't have it yet.
We are at an hour on this, Dr. Elliott. You were right. These things are absolutely amazing. We're up to almost 4,500. I mean, it keeps growing. And
that's
most
amazing.
Folks, hit the rack and they say, I'm done. But they're here. This is great. Okay, so we'll just keep going with a few more if you don't mind.
That's fine. And again, I want to let everybody know, if your question didn't get answered, call our office, 720-605-3900, and we'll answer them. But LT, you and I got to talk. We should do this more often because there's obviously demand for it. I love it.
Yeah, this is great. Jim 888, and this is a good one just to kind of, circle the wagons on again. When you are talking gold and silver, are you talking IRA or actually physical in hand?
Either. IRAs. So the only IRAs that I would recommend are the ones that you actually have physical silver in it, right? So So if you have an IRA at Schwab or, Merrill Lynch or something, they don't have physical silver. They've got an ETF or some kind of a paper version. We use a custodian that allows for physical holdings of gold or silver coins or bars. That's what I would recommend. It's the same stuff that you would have outside of an IRA. You're just storing it in the IRA. So still physical metals. One is stored, one you can take delivery of if it's not in an IRA.
Let me get back in here. I'm going to ask another one that I think we've talked about before, but Miss Smith asks, will there ever be an easy way to spend silver to directly pay your bills, i.e. an online precious metals wallet? If so, will there be a fee every time you buy silver or spend silver to pay a bill?
Probably so. And I don't know. There's always going to be a fee. I can't imagine somebody would put something together and have it be free, right? So I would say that there's going to be a fee, and I believe that would be down the road under one of those parallel economy type systems, but we don't have it yet.
Right. And here's another good question. I think you've discussed it before because you kind of leaned to telling folks to talk to them, but Greenfield says, I'm 66, still working, but my employer, it is a financial institution, will not allow me to roll my 401k to precious metals. Debating on what to do. Is there a way to force the rollover?
Just call them and say you're over 59 and a half and you want to do an in-service rollover because the IRS allows it. Now, just because they allow it doesn't mean your employer will participate, right? So because your employer is a financial institution, they might be one of them that don't participate because they want to control your money forever. Then the only way to actually access it is to retire, right? But that I'm not telling anybody that you retire. Cash flow is king. You make money as long as you can for your family, right? But you probably, under a financial institution, you probably can't do anything with it until you're done with employment there.
Here's another one from M&M 295. Can and do you think an IRA in gold and/or silver could be confiscated?
Anything can be confiscated. If the government wants to take it, the government's going to take it, right? And people think, well, man, they confiscated gold in the early 1900s. They're going to do it again. Different time, different place. I don't take that same view. Now, I don't trust that the government's not going to confiscate stuff because in the Dodd-Frank bill, they've already legislated how they're going to do it with a bail-in tax. Right. This is how they've done it in other countries. So let's say that you have 100,000 in the bank, government needs money. They'll say, well, we're just going to, with the flip of a switch, we're going to do a 10% bail-in tax. Tomorrow you have 90,000. It's like, what? They just took it. That's where they will go after low-lying fruit. Your digital assets, your bank accounts, checking accounts, brokerage accounts. Gold and silver are a private transaction. A, they don't know that you have it. B, if it's in a depository, they still don't know who owns it. They know what's in a depository. But here's the ultimate reality. 2% of the population owns gold, 0.9% of the population owns silver. If they need money, are they going to go after something that only 0.9% of the population owns? Logic tells me no. They're going to go after something that's easy, like your digital assets or your bank accounts. See, to me, this is what central bank digital currency is all about. It's not about fixing a broken system. It's about complete people control, the ability to cut you off from buying or selling if they don't like your ideology, and they can just flip the switch, take it away under a unified ledger. A bank for international settlements has already described how it would work. They tokenize all of your assets into one package, and they can change ownership of all of your assets to somebody else if they don't like your ideology. I mean, go to the Bank for International Settlements, BIS.org, I think it is, and look up Project Icebreaker. Look up Project Aurora. Look at World Economic Forum. Look at Executive Order 14067 that President Biden penned into law, right? That makes central bank digital currency. Look at Dr. Pippa Malmgren at the World Economic Forum, the World Government Summit in Abu Dhabi a year and a half ago. She said, central bank digital currency, it's coming. It's programmable money. If we don't like your digital social profile, your social credit score, we'll cut you off from the ability to access your funds. This is happening now, right? So this is why tangible assets are so good to have, because it gets out of that system of you being a digital slave in their digital world that they're trying to create.
Amazing. We've got a few positive comments I want to read, and we'll get to the next question. Tally, Mom 101, thank you for explaining this for everyone else. I have your advisors. They are doing amazing work, Dr. Kirk. How about that, huh?
Thank you. I love to
And
hear
then
that. I love that.
the Barryman said we rolled 401k to Roth IRA and allocated 30% to silver. So that's a good comment. Saint Leah Victor, my job automatically does something like a 403 or something by something like that. Can I just hand that over to you guys to manage? FYI, I know nothing about this stuff. I'm just a nurse.
So 401ks, 403bs, they are owned by your employer, right? So again, if you're over 59 and a half, you could ask them if you can do an in-service rollover. Give us a call. We'll try to help you through it. If you've retired from there, sure, we can do it. It's just it's a traditional IRA rollover, piece of cake. But any questions on that, give our office a call. One of my amazing team of consultants, they're amazing. They have a heart just like me, and they'll help you. They'll bend over backwards to help. So just call 720-605-3900, or you can go to the link that's on the bottom here, andweknow.com/gold, right? And we'll take good care of you.
All right. So let's see. We might have a few more here. Another good comment, Rosebud. Kirk Elliott's office takes the time you need until you understand what you're asking. Highly recommend. How about that, huh? Amazing.
I'm so biased. I love my team. I love them, but I love hearing stories like that too. It really warms my heart.
No, it's amazing. So a lot of folks saying thanks. We appreciate you guys joining in. I didn't want to go too far over an hour, but if you still want to answer some questions, we can, Dr. Elliott.
I'll answer a few more. I mean, leave it up to you, LT, because I know that there's no way that we can get to all the questions, right? So we're just going to have to do it again, or call our office, and we'll try to help you individually.
Yeah, and here's a comment I definitely from Tally that I just want to do a shout out to. Dr. Elliott, PhD, always sends updates all fly over conservatives, and so that's a positive comment. They're the ones that I talked to and met last year who introduced me to you, and so I definitely want to give them a shout out here while we're talking. Love their family and learned a lot from the father, the husband who's now a friend, and taking care of my family. I just really appreciate that. I want to make sure we throw that in there.
I love David and Stacy and their whole family over at Flyover Conservatives. They're a wonderful couple, God-fearing couple who really care about people, just like you do, LT. I mean, this is why I love doing these kind of things and going shoulder to shoulder with you, spreading this message of hope. Because you know what? A lot of times we have to talk about bad news.
Yeah.
Like, we can't help the politics of the world in our country, but we can offer solutions, and that's what we do.
It's amazing. Well, a lot more comments come in and a lot of positive, and we appreciate that. Not very many questions here as I scroll down on the side. Just a lot of positive comments, a lot of folks communicating with each other, and more. And so I just wanted to just allow you this time to share once again how folks can invest with you. How does it work, the whole system, when they reach out, fill out a form, when they go to andweknow.com/gold, and then we'll close in prayer.
Yeah. So go to andweknow.com/gold. You'll fill out a little online form. It basically says, who are you? What was it that LT and Kirk talked about that caused you to want to reach out? And then we'll collect that information. We'll set you up with a free consultation with one of my consultants. We have tons of them. We have a lot. I have a really amazing, good team. And then they're going to dig down a little bit deeper, find out what your fears, your concerns, your goals, your aspirations are, right? And help you map out a strategy for success that takes advantage of these global trends rather than those trends taking advantage of you. And then we'll cross the T's, dot the I's, do all the paperwork, help you move assets like from your 401k to an IRA, your brokerage account into a depository account, or where you take delivery of it. We'll handle all of that. Our goal in our prayer is to make the transition easy and the burden light, and take the time that we need to answer all of your questions. Because look, you can't, how do I put it? There's a lot of people out there that say a lot of things that sound good, but they're shady people, right? The only way trust can be established is through a relationship. I don't care if it's with a husband and a wife, a friend, a business partnership, right? Trust is never established except through communication and over time. And that's why we take the time that we need to establish that with you. And my team is wonderful. You will love them just like I do. So that's the process. You give us a call and say LT sent you, or you go to that form that's on this page and just reach out to us, and we'll get back with you pronto and start answering your questions and get you on a path for success.
It's perfect. Leads right into a comment from Singin' Cindy Lou. She said, Kim is my advisor. She is amazing and even prayed for my peace as a widow. Wow. Prayed for her peace as a widow. And so that leads right into what I'd like to do is just close in prayer while we're live. And then we'll end this broadcast today, and we'll have to do this more often. This is absolutely amazing. Heavenly Father, thank you so much for all that you continue to do in and through Dr. Elliott and his team, for these strange times that we live in, with so much evil being thrown at us left and right through so many different means and music and Hollywood and mainstream media and more. We're just inundated with so much, and you know exactly what we're going through. You always tell us to come to you, all those that have heavy burdens, and you will lighten our load, basically. And you've constantly reminded us of your protection for us and more. And we just asked for protection over Dr. Kirk Elliott and his entire team, as they're not only helping folks financially for the future and more, but also through prayer, they're helping folks that are hurting. And just a difficult time that we live in every day as we have the enemy attacks. We definitely need your protection. And so thank you once again for all that you're doing in and through the team, allowing us to have this broadcast, and for everyone that's listening. Again, we praise your holy name. In the name of Jesus Christ, our Savior, we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Amen. All right, brother. Well, I'm going to end this stream now, and I really appreciate everything that you're doing, and we look forward to having this again. Can't wait.
I can't wait either. We'll talk to you soon.
All right, brother. Bye.